Today, I am going to take a look at the book Linchpin by Seth Godin. He's one of my all time favorite authors. I have to tell you, I'm a little biased right up front. What I like to do is share with you what I liked about a book, what I didn't like about a book, what I learned, and what I could put to use immediately. So here goes Linchpin. Are you indispensable? The first thing I liked about it is that it's really easy to digest in the fact that there are little titles and subtitles throughout the book that give you really simple little brief paragraphs that you can follow along with. So whether you read it in order or whether you jump around a little bit, it's really easy to digest that way. Also, this is really about getting unstuck. Whether you are feeling like a linchpin or a cog, or maybe you don't know what that means, he defines being a linchpin is when you're in a system and you are the one pin that helps all the wheels turn. And if you're a cog, then you are the just the wheel going around, part of that wheel going around and around. What I didn't like about the book is that it pointed out to me, or made me realize that maybe I've been a cog more than I've been a linchpin, and so that was a little bit uncomfortable. But that's where those big discoveries come from, right? He also talks about so many great things in here. So let's start first of all about, he talks about we've been trained to produce, conform, and consume. And so, what will you do if these three pillars change? What happens when the world cares about unique voices, remarkable insights, and it cares more about that than it does cheap labor on the assembly line? So, a lot of deep thoughts here. I think he includes a lot of sort of emotional psychology kind of in his work throughout. He talks about emotional labor. So the opportunity sometimes doesn't necessarily feel like an opportunity. He says volunteering to do emotional labor, even when you don't feel like it, and especially when you're not paid extra for it, is a difficult choice. So he's sort of prompting us to be our best selves, to show up in the work that we do. He talks about treasuring your work, which I really love. This is from page 87. He says, the alternative is to treasure what it means to do a day's work. It's our one and only chance to do something productive today, and it's certainly not available to someone who merely just is working as the high bidder. It's about doing work that matters. A day's work is your chance to do art, to create a gift, to do something that matters. And I love his inspiration. That isn't entirely just about like go quit your job, but it's about being better at the job that you have and being more human in the process. He says here, when he talks about your job versus your job is what you do when you're told what to do. The job is showing up at the factory, following instructions, meeting spec, and being managed. He says someone can always do your job a little better or a little faster or a little cheaper. So your art is what you do when no one can tell you exactly what to do or how to do it. Your art is the little act of taking personal responsibility, changing or challenging the status quo, and changing people. I love that. He talks about work versus art. Art, at least as I define it, is the intentional act of using your humanity to create change in another person. So there's lots of inspiration throughout here. Then he goes on with more inspirations, talking about developing a plan B. And if you have a plan B, then you're not fully committed to plan A. So stay in your plan A for a little while. Then he talks about fear and what to do with it in the workplace. He talks about doing what's important by forcing myself to do absolutely no busy work tasks, in between doing the real work. Then he says that's your way to remove the resistance and do things that really matter. Then he talks about giving, and the more you give, the more you get. It's this beautiful cycle. There's lots of touching on passion too, lots of anecdotes here on passion. He says, does your job describe your passion or does your passion match your job? This is really interesting because I think he goes against the grain quite a bit here. He says, conventional wisdom is that you should find a job that matches your passion. I think this is backwards. He talks a lot about that in this book and many of his other works, so I'll let you investigate that on your own. And then he says, be the linchpin once. If you can do it brilliantly one time, just once, then of course you can do it again. I'm not proposing that you play the perfect round of golf or conduct a symphony. Instead, success lies in being generous or understanding someone or seeing a routine that others don't or a route that others don't. You've done this already, done it brilliantly. So there's lots of inspiration. And this is just do it. He says, develop attributes that make you a linchpin, get better at your unique talent, figure out what your superpower is, and put it to work. So, just a little taste there for what Linchpin is all about, and I hope that you are inspired to read it. Thanks for joining.